Good morning. How are you doing today, LK?
I'm doing just fine, Arrow. How are you?
Absolutely excited to talk with you because I love your writing style in so many different ways, because even though it shares a story, there's an underlying purpose behind your writing that I think that readers will take it and they will learn from it, they'll grow from it, and it's going to create conversation.
I hope so.
To put yourself out there, though, to be that kind of a writer, that takes courage and confidence.
Well, when I started writing it, I didn't know I was going to write a book. I was actually just sort of writing what it was like to see the world the way I see it and the way my protagonist, Ellie, sees it. We both have a disease called retinitis pigmentosa, which is a degenerative retinal disease. So it destroys your peripheral vision and your night and low vision. And eventually, eventually it does lead to blindness. But for me, and probably for my protagonist, I see the world now like I'm looking kind of through a mailbox slot. I can't see anything above, below, or to the sides. But what I do look at, I can see. So I'm fortunate in that respect. And go ahead.
I was just going to say, but the thing about it is, LK, and what I find very inspiring is that so many people, if they were challenged by this, and I know that you probably know people that do this, they go inward and they close themselves off from the rest of the world, whereas you decided, I'm going to write. I'm going to share stories. I'm not going to let something get in my way.
The thing about having a degenerative disease is that you have a lot of time to think about how scared you are.
Yep.
And how angry you are. And the key, I think, is not to be isolated. So I have a lot of friends and family who are incredibly supportive and who will drive me. Obviously, I can't drive. Who will drive me places and who will just help me with the things, when I'm walking in a restaurant and it's totally dark and I have my cane, but I still need an arm. So I have an incredible supportive group of people, but they don't know what it's like. They don't know what it's like to see the world through my eyes. To write a novel in which the protagonist is like me, first of all, I don't know that there are a lot of novels or TV shows or movies about people who are disabled in any capacity. And I thought, well, this will be unique and I will feel represented. And that was such a gift. It was such an amazing experience to be able to write all my feelings and give them to someone else. And this is not a memoir. This is a thriller.
Yep.
Nothing in the book actually happened. And what I loved was putting the thriller aspect together with her diminishing vision. This is a woman who is trapped in a marriage with a husband who is using her disability to sabotage her. So she will stay with him. And all she wants to do is leave. But she's going blind. She doesn't know if she can. She doesn't know if she can live alone. She doesn't know if that's possible for her. And I think in the course of the book and in the course of my writing the book, my character kind of grew a backbone and she was courageous and she learned to do what she had to do. And it eliminated a lot of the fear that she had and that I had also. I'm 68 years old. I just published my first book.
I love you for that. Right?
I know. So it was like, holy mackerel, what else can be done? It's not the end of the world. It feels that way, and I am afraid of going blind and of being totally blind and living in the darkness. And I have a book up my sleeve about that one also. But For Worse, I talk about the logistics of being blind, the things like the humiliation, the feelings of humiliation and infantilization, and being marginalized in your own home because you can't drive your kids to school. Things like that, which are certainly very valid. And I think a lot of those feelings are at the crux of the disability movement, which is very relevant to Disability Pride Month, because people are saying, yeah, we're disabled. Get out of the way.
Yep. One of the things that I love about you discovering this book and writing at 68 is because Mo Rocca's brand new book is all about those that discovered their art in their silver years. And this just fits so well into that. And it's so inspiring to be able to step into the world that you see inside your imagination, and we can see it all. You've got peripheral vision. You've got everything inside that imagination. And that, to me, is such a great step moving forward.
That's an incredible way to look at it. I've got all my vision in my imagination.
Yes.
Whoa, I'm putting that in a t-shirt. That is good. But, the fact is, there are so many people with disabilities, not just blindness, who are doing amazing things. I mean, you hear about people who are traveling. There's an architect who's lost his vision, and of course, athletes. It is not the end of the world. It is a different type of way of living. That's all it is.
I love your book cover, and I've always been fascinated with that. And I don't think it's because I'm a published author, but I love that kind of stuff because that to me is the first handshake when you meet somebody in a bookstore. It's reaching out there saying, "Hi, my name is for worse, and I just want you to take the time to just read about me." And I love the way that your book cover offers that opportunity.
Thank you. Alex Carrera of Blackstone Publishing. Blackstone is my wonderful publisher. He designed the book cover, and I could not be happier. It just doesn't look like other book covers.
Right.
It's so specific to the book because of the computer, because some of the book, not all of it, but some of it takes place in a chat room. And Ellie spends a lot of time on her computer being in these discussions with women who are about to be divorced or who have been divorced. That's the chat room that she's on. And then she eventually goes on to a chat room on the dark web, which has a much more secure mandate.
How did you even know what that was about? Because, I mean, come on now. What you're putting inside these pages looks like it was well researched. And I'm a research whore. I got to know what the heck is going on.
The thing about going on the dark web is that I was never brave enough to take that final step. And, the fact is, you should have a VPN. VPN is sort of critical, at least when I was writing this, to getting on the dark web, because it hides your IP address. And so you don't have a internet footprint as you do your shopping or whatever you're doing online. And the dark web was really fascinating to me. But as much as I researched it and as much as I learned about it and about its history, it was originally, I think, created for the Navy or some kind of armed forces to have a sort of a deep dive place to put their research and their affidavits and their data and their findings. And then it became sort of accepted as kind of a place where you want to do your dark dealings and the things that you don't want on the upfront sunny web. But I never actually got on it because I was a little too afraid to do that. But that was my first novel. I think if I were doing it now, I'd probably go ahead and see, where it took me. I don't know. I got a lot braver, with this process as it went on. And now I'm working on my second novel, and I'm calling police officers, and I'm calling, other kinds of disabilities. So it was a learning process.
See, I call that popping the seed. Because I love it when a creative person will sit there and they've got that seed that they put in the soil. Oh, I've got my first book. Now let that monkey grow, and I want to see that first leaf pop above that soil. Exactly.
That's exactly how I feel. Yeah, I'm very excited about the next book, the one I'm writing. And the one after this, I even have planned out, which is going to be I want it to be a haunted house thriller.
Oh, my God.
With a person who is blind.
Oh.
Yeah.
See,
I know.
That's interesting because as viewers who have sight, we see what they don't see because we're always screaming at them to turn around and stuff. But what about a person who relies on their hearing to move through a haunted house? Oh, my God. Yeah. That's an interesting concept.
Yeah. And I don't want to, there's a little bit of Wait Until Dark in For Worse, my novel that's out right now. And there is that thriller aspect of a woman who can't see is in the room with a person who wants to hurt her.
Ooh.
So go, right? But in the next one, I want to deal with the psychological effects of the fear of going blind. So I think a lot of what happens in the book might be psychological or in his head and not so much outside of him. I don't know. As
that author, I really have to tap into your imagination in the way that when you say that Ellie is in this room with somebody who wants to hurt her, and we've got the six senses, but here's the thing. I mean, one of them is not all 100% there. The thing is that how did you embrace that emotionally as a writer and allow it to flow through your fingertips? Because your fingers are going to write whatever your heart wants, and so you've got to put it in the heart first.
Well, my heart was pretty full of feelings I was feeling as a blind person or a vision impaired person, navigating the world and knowing that there's darkness in my future. So I had a lot to say about that. And, you can't, I didn't want to write an essay. I started to write an essay and I thought, I don't personally read essays. I read thrillers. So I thought, well, let's write a thriller. So then that became really fun, how to make every situation that she's in with her husband not supportive, but scary in some way. There's a knife on the counter and she can't find it. Does her husband find it first? And what's he going to do with it? Ooh. Something? Nothing? There's a lot of suspense to be extrapolated from a person who is missing a sense or who is in some way perhaps not an equal match to the person who is trying to hurt her.
Would you say that Ellie could be in her own way a crime hero, a crime stopping hero in the way that, yes, okay, so we admit that there is a challenge, but she doesn't stop with that challenge. And this is a crime read in the middle of an era of books as well as movies where we love our crime. Oh my God, LK, we love our crime. Give me more.
Ellie's story is done. She went on her journey.
Yeah.
And she is done. I am, however, currently writing a crime thriller. There are no disabled people in it at the moment. I keep thinking I'm going to have to throw somebody in. But it is a little peculiar for me to write about a character who can just get in her car and go.
Yep.
I love that. I have her getting in her car a lot. She just gets in her car and she goes. And there's a body soon. And there is a detective, a female detective, and I'm thinking maybe we'd like to see her again. She does have a child who is challenged, and she is staying in a marriage because of that child. And I'm not sure that we see or have seen a detective who is, authoritative and competent on the job, and yet in her own house is somewhat has to tippy-toe around a little bit. I don't know. I thought that was an interesting dichotomy.
So now you're saying that Ellie is done. I have a tough time getting rid of characters that came into my imagination, became a huge part of the creation, and then to just kind of relinquish them. How did you deal with that personally?
I am not a person who likes sequels.
Oh, okay.
I do believe that when you're done, it's like knowing when to leave the party. I believe that when your story is done and your character has achieved their arc, that was it. And there's a bit of an ending in For Worse, where some people have said, well, is that it? Is there more? And Ellie's journey is complete. She is who she is now. I don't see her being a blind crime fighter. Particularly, I see her enjoying the rest of her life and doing whatever it is she does, whether she goes back to school or teaches literature or literacy to adults, which is what I would like to do, or works in an animal shelter. I don't know. But her journey is done. But if you more of her, just, of course, you can always listen to the audiobook,
yes,
which is a whole nother way of hearing the story. Blackstone Publishing, which is my publishing house, they do a hell of an audiobook. They originally started as audiobook producers, and Lisa Flanagan and RJ Ganzer. Oh my God, did I forget his name? I think RJ Ganzer do an amazing job. They each take one of the main characters. So that's a phenomenal read. And of course, you should buy many copies of the book for your friends.
I'll tell you one place that I would love to see you, and that is in these VR goggles. I know that we've got Audible and we've got the books that we can read and stuff like that, but I just want, I love my VR goggles so much that I want to sit there with the author sometime and just watch you read. And I think that would just bring so much peace to so many people who love stories.
Well, I do. Do you mean read aloud or read?
Yes, absolutely. And to see you do it like our third grade teachers used to do. I mean, remember when they used to read to us? I mean,
yes.
To me, that was part of the magic of wanting to write.
Yes, absolutely. I have very wonderful memories of that also. And, people have asked me, do you want to read the audiobook? And have you listened to an audiobook lately? The actors and actresses that they get to read these books are unbelievable. I could not do anywhere near the job that they do. Really, I mostly listen to audiobooks now, and I'm always blown away by the performances, the extraordinary performances of the readers.
Wow. Outside of fightingblindness.org, where can people go to find you, LK? Because I want them to go to your website, give you love, start supporting each and every one of your books. Since you're now working on book number 3, I mean, doing number 2 now with visions of number 3 already in order.
Yeah. So my website is authorlkbowen.com, and make sure it's author LK Bowen.
Yes.
When I first got my website, it kept sending me to Arthur Bowen, who was an actor in Harry Potter movies. I know, I was very frustrated about that, but author LK Bowen. And then I'm on Instagram as author.lkbowen. And my Facebook is, I think, the same.
You got to come back to this show, LK. I love hearing your story. I love hearing your passion as a writer. And more importantly, I'm going to really love watching you grow into this great novelist.
You're so sweet. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Will you be brilliant today, okay?
Hey, you too. Thank you so much for having me. Take care.